You thought you were fine. You watched your parents split up. You adjusted. You kept your grades up. You smiled at birthday dinners with mom. You smiled at weekend trips with dad. Everyone said you handled it so well, but now you're an adult and something is wrong. You panic when a relationship gets too serious. You push people away right when things get good. You trust no one completely, not even people who've never given you a reason not to, and you don't know why. Here's the truth. Scientists spent 25 years tracking children of divorce into adulthood, and what they found changed everything. The damage from your parents' divorce didn't happen when you were a child. It was waiting, it was hiding, and it activated the moment you tried to love someone. This video is about what really happens to the psychology of people who grew up with divorced parents. Not the surface stuff, the deep stuff, the stuff nobody talks about. Stay with me. In 1971, psychologist Judith Wallerstein began one of the most important studies ever done on children of divorce. She didn't study them for a year, she didn't study them for 5 years. She tracked 131 children for 25 years. And here's what she found. The children who looked the most adjusted, who smiled the most, cried the least, got the best grades, gave everyone the least trouble. They were not fine. They were performing because they could see their parents were suffering. And somewhere deep in their child's mind, they made a decision, an unconscious decision, to protect everyone else's feelings at the cost of their own. Wallerstein called it the sleeper effect. Here's how it works. As children, they bury the grief. They become the easy kid. They learn to read the room. They learn to say exactly what adults need to hear. But grief doesn't disappear just because you bury it. It waits. It waits until you fall in love for the first time. It waits until someone actually wants to commit to you. And then it detonates. Suddenly, in your late 20s or early 30s, you're terrified of being abandoned. You either cling too hard or push people away before they can leave first. You're not broken. You're not dramatic. You are experiencing a delayed psychological response to something that happened to you as a child. And here's the part that will shock you. The sleeper effect hit women harder than men. Girls who appeared to handle the divorce the best as children, the responsible ones, the mature ones, the ones who were so strong, struggled the most as adults when forming romantic relationships, because they spent their entire childhood hiding their pain to protect everyone around them. They became experts at performing okay, and that performance followed them into every relationship they ever had. Here's where most people stop the conversation. They talk about the emotions, the trust issues, the attachment wounds, but researchers at Princeton University went further. They discovered that parental divorce doesn't just affect your mind, it changes your DNA. Scientists measured telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that determine how fast your cells age. In children who had experienced father loss through divorce, the result, their telomeres were measurably shorter, not symbolically, not metaphorically, biologically shorter, at age 9. In boys, the cellular damage was 40% worse than in girls. And there's more. Research from Arizona State University found that young adults who grew up with divorced parents showed something called blunted cortisol reactivity. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When you face something difficult, your body is supposed to respond, to activate, to help you cope. But these young adults' bodies had learned to shut that response down, not because they were strong, because they had been under chronic stress for so long as children that their nervous system stopped reacting normally. This is a pattern psychologists usually see in trauma survivors. Let that land for a second. Your parents' divorce was not just an emotional event, it was a developmental, neurological, and biological event that shaped how your brain and body respond to stress for the rest of your life. And nobody warned you. Picture this: two families, two kids, same age, both going through divorce. Family A, the house is loud. Mom is crying in the kitchen at midnight. Dad is slamming doors. You can hear them from your bedroom with the pillow over your ears. The whole street probably knows. Family B, the house is quiet. Mom and dad sit you down at the dining table. Calm voices, hands folded, tissues nearby but unused. We love you so much. This isn't your fault. Nothing is going to change for you. Now tell me, which child do you think grows up more psychologically damaged? Most people would say family A without hesitation. They would be wrong. Sociologist Paul Amato spent 17 years tracking both types of families. What he found shook the entire field of psychology. Children from family B, the quiet divorce, the civil divorce, the good divorce, had measurably worse outcomes as adults. Worse relationships, worse mental health, a harder time trusting people. Not family A. Family B, The calm one? Let me tell you why. And I want you to really feel this. When your parents fight constantly, your nervous system is exhausted, but your brain has something precious. A story, a reason, a framework. Of course they split up. Did you hear them every night? This makes complete sense. You're hurt, but you're not confused. Now imagine you're the child in family B. Your parents weren't screaming. They seemed okay to you, normal even. Family dinners happened, holidays happened, nothing felt broken. There were no warning signs, no late night arguments you could point to, no visible crack in the wall before the whole house just fell down. And then one Tuesday afternoon, it's over. Your child brain reaches for an explanation. It reaches and finds nothing. So it builds one from the only material it has left, me. It must have been me. Maybe I was too loud, too much, not good enough. Maybe if I had just been easier, they would have stayed. That thought, that one small, devastating, completely wrong thought. It doesn't leave when you turn 18. It doesn't pack its bags when you graduate or move out or fall in love. It just gets quieter. It goes underground. And then one day, years later, someone in your adult life pulls away slightly, a partner gets a little distant, a text goes unanswered too long, a person you love seems like they might be leaving, and that thought surfaces again, not loudly, just a whisper. See? You were never enough. You never were. You don't say it out loud, you might not even fully hear it, but it shapes every single decision you make from that moment forward. Here is the statistic that stopped me cold when I first read it. Almost half of all divorces today come from low conflict marriages. Not half of the dramatic ones, half of all of them, which means right now, today, millions of children are sitting in perfectly quiet houses, watching their calm, reasonable, good parents separate, having absolutely no framework for what just happened to them, and in the silence, they are writing a story about themselves, a story that will take decades to unlearn. The loudest divorces get all the attention, the quiet ones do the most damage, and almost no one is talking about it. There is a psychological term for something that happens inside almost every family after a divorce. It's called parentification, and there are two types. Type 1 is visible. The child cooks dinner, watches younger siblings, manages the household. People praise this child for being so mature. Type 2 is invisible, and it's far more damaging. It's called emotional parentification. This is when a lonely, hurting parent turns their child into a therapist, a confidant, a best friend, a surrogate spouse. You're the only one who truly understands me. I don't know what I'd do without you. Don't tell your father, but the child doesn't experience this as a burden at the time. They experience it as love, as being special, as being chosen. But what's actually happening is profound. The child is learning to completely abandon their own emotional needs to manage a parent's pain. And that pattern, that shape of love, where you disappear so someone else can feel okay, becomes the blueprint they carry into every relationship as an adult. Clinical psychologist Gregory Jurkovic studied this for decades. His finding, children of divorce were significantly more likely to have taken on this emotional caretaker role, and significantly more likely to feel that the arrangement was unfair, even when they couldn't articulate it as children, because nobody told them it was happening. Here's what all of this builds toward. Adults who grew up with divorced parents are statistically more likely to experience divorce in their own marriages, not because they don't care about love, because of three patterns that run so deep they're almost invisible. Pattern 1, hypervigilance. You are always scanning for signs that someone is about to leave, a slightly colder text, a moment of distance, a change in tone. You notice everything, you say nothing, but inside the alarm is screaming. Pattern 2, self-sabotage. When a relationship gets really good, when someone is genuinely there for you, committed, present, something in you panics, and you pull back, pick a fight, find a flaw, because you learned at a young age that love ends, so you'd rather end it on your terms than be left without warning. Pattern 3, choosing the wrong people. Some adults of divorce unconsciously choose partners who are emotionally unavailable, because unavailability feels familiar, it feels like home, or they choose someone so safe and predictable that the relationship dies slowly from the inside. None of this makes you weak. All of it makes you human, and all of it can be unlearned. Here's what I want you to take from this video. You are not fine, and that's okay. The child version of you did something extraordinary. In the middle of chaos, confusion, and grief that nobody helped you process, you survived. You adapted. You became strong enough to protect the people around you even when no one was protecting you. That took enormous strength, but that strength came came at a cost, and the cost is now showing up in your adult life, in how you love, how you trust, how you protect yourself from people who are trying to get close. The research is clear on one more thing. These patterns are not permanent. 75 to 80% of adults who grew up with divorced parents function within normal psychological range. Many become more empathetic, more resilient, more perceptive than their peers. The wound doesn't have to define you, but first, you have to stop pretending it isn't there. If you grew up with divorced parents, I want you to do one thing today. Stop performing fine. Find one person, a therapist, a trusted friend, a partner, and tell them the truth. Tell them about the child who hid their pain to protect everyone else. That child deserves to finally be seen. If this video describes something you've been carrying for years, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you want to understand more about how your childhood shapes your adult psychology, our next video goes even deeper. You're not alone in this. You never were.